All right, hello students. We're going to do breadboarding in this lesson. So go to tinkercad.com/login and sign in with Google. Go to the Learn button. Click on 3D, make it say Circuits. And this time we're going to go to Lessons. So click on Lessons. And we're going to click on Introducing the Breadboard. So click on Introducing the Breadboard. Let that load. Okay, I need to reset this. All right, so here I am with a fresh lesson. So introducing the breadboard. The breadboard is a powerful prototyping tool that lets you take your electronic skills to the next level. With it, you can connect many components together. So we're going to learn how to use it by testing out a special type of LED called an RGB LED, which stands for red, green, blue. So if I click on the example, it's going to show us what we're doing. So looks like we're using push buttons to turn on the different colors of the LED, the RGB LED. Let's click on next. So let's begin exploring each part of the breadboard. Along the left and right sides of the breadboard are columns called power rails marked with the minus and plus labels. So minus and plus, so these are rails, power rails. These columns are typically used to provide power to components by connecting the power source like a battery. Instructions. Hover over any of the holes in the column next to the plus symbol on the breadboard, and notice how the entire column turns green. That means that all of the holes in this column are connected to one another. Try it out with the negative column. So here's the negative column. There's power positive and negative. Click the plus components button and add a 9-volt battery in your circuit and rotate it 90 degrees and place it connected to the positive rail, and the negative one is connected to the negative rail. So scroll down, there's your 9-volt battery. We're going to click and drag that into place. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. So that's either 2 fingers swiping in and out. You can click and drag the canvas around by holding down the mouse button and dragging it. Click on the component. When you click on the component, there's this button right here. When I click that, it will let me rotate that. Click on the canvas again. And we want to move it so that these right here, the positive and the negative, are connected to the positive and negative right here. Just like that. Once you have that, continue to the next step. For the rest of the breadboard, notice how the columns are labeled letters A through J. So A through J, and the rows are labeled with numbers 1 to 30. So 1 to 30. These letters and numbers act like coordinates to help you identify where to add your components. This is especially handy when you're sharing your designs with others. So if we hover over a row and check out how the entire row is highlighted in green, that means that means that they're all connected to one another. So when you add components into a breadboard, each pin of the component is typically connected to a different part of the design. As a result, you'll want each pin to be in a different row, or each leg of the component. Click the components to add the RGB LED and rotate it 90 degrees and place it in your breadboard with the top pin in red, so the red pin in E13. So here's E, so we go down to 13. So this right here, this hole that's highlighted in red right here, that is going to be where the top of the RGB pin goes in to start. So let me zoom out a bit. We're going to scroll through the components and find, there it is, LED RGB. Drag that in. Click on it and rotate it 90 degrees. Just like that. If you end up rotating it past it, just keep clicking and it'll go back around. So this top pin, this red one, so let's look at the LED. There's red, a cathode, the blue, and the green. So we can actually light up these different colors. So we want that to be in 13, E13. just like that. So E13. It says click the plus components and add a 480 resistor with one leg connected to the cathode. Let's look at this example right here. So this is showing us where these components are going to end up being for this step. So I'll scroll through the components. I'm clicking on the resistor, clicking on it again, and I need to make it say 480 ohms. So change that to ohm, change this to 480, and then plug that right there, I believe. Let's double check. So yeah. So this one's going to go in D14. And then we need to connect a wire to the ground. So that's from A18. So when you're making wires, you don't grab it from the components. You just click on one of the holes and a wire will appear. And then you click on the other hole and it'll connect. Now let's click on that and make it black. Okay, once you do that, click next. It says add the first switch across the Revine. That's this channel in the middle here. In the middle of the breadboard, you'll notice a gap that separates the two sides of the board. This gap is called the Revine and isolates both sides from one another, or the Revine. Many components take advantage of this so that pins on opposite sides of the component can be connected independently. Let's try this out with a push button, which is a type of switch that makes a connection when pressed. Okay, so we got to find the push button. That's right here. So I'm going to click on that. And we got to rotate that 90 degrees. So click on the button, rotate it 90 degrees, and that's going to go in E1 and E3. Is there an example? Yes. Just like that. So that gets put right there. Zoom in so you can see. And the right pins, okay, so that, remember the LED turns on when the connection to the power and ground. To create this connection, wire the top left pin, A1, that's A1, to the plus rail. So I'm going to click that and click the plus. If we wanted to make it look more like a wire, we can click it like around it. And I'm going to make that orange. I don't know if that's helpful or not. That's not necessary. You can just click it to make it go straight across. Okay. So how did I delete that? I clicked it and pressed this little trash can. If you click around, you can make it look kind of like a wire sticking out. It's going to be simpler to just go straight across though. Let's double check this. Okay, and then we have this wire right here. So now wire the other side of the push pin D3. That's this right here, D3 to D13. So click and click. Let's make that red. Continue to the next step. Oh wait, no. Click start simulation and press the button. So I'm going to click start simulation and I'm going to click on the button and it turns on the LED. So what's happening is electrons are flowing from positive through the power rail, out of this wire, through this section of the breadboard, through the push button when it's pressed, out here through the wire, through the red pin of the LED, and out the cathode through the resistor, out through the breadboard here, through this wire, and back to negative. Stop. Right. Next. Now let's connect two more switches to the last two pins. It says copy C, paste, push buttons to create another one and place it. So if I guess if I click that and press Control C, Control V, I get another push pin, or I can just drag it in from the components. And that's going to go in E5, just like that. And then C7, no. What is it? Let's look at the example. E5 and 9. Where did that button go? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to look at the example. So A5 goes across and A9. So A5 goes to positive, A9 goes to positive, just like that. And then we need the wires from C7 to C15. So C7 to C15. Oops, I'm pressing escape on my keyboard. If you ever accidentally click on something, just press escape on your keyboard. I'm going to click on that and make that blue. Where's blue? And then look at the example, B11 to B16, B11 to B16, and I'm going to make that, I'm going to leave that green. Let's make these wires all orange. I think that's good to go. Click next and start simulation. So when you click the button, you get red, blue, green. Awesome. So congrats on completing your first breadboard design and learning how to use the RGB LED. We can continue tinkering, but for the assignment, I want you to screenshot this whole thing. And then you're going to go to the Google slide that I gave you. And on the breadboarding slide, paste your screenshot in the right. Describe what you learned. Define at least one component or word that you saw and learned in the assignment. Once you do that, come back to Tinkercad and do steps 1, 2. So what if you want to combine red, blue, and green? If you start the simulation and hold down the shift key on your keyboard when you click a push button, it will keep the button pressed. So try holding down multiple buttons to see what happens to the RGB light. So I'm going to hold down this, hold shift. Oh. Okay, so you press shift first and then you click the button. And now if I click this push button, I can make purple, I can make yellow, and you can tinker and play around with that. If you run out of room, you can always use a bigger breadboard. The design uses the small breadboard, and if you go into components, you could find a bigger breadboard. But that's the lesson for now. I hope you enjoyed that, and keep on tinkering. Keep tinkering.